I joined in June of 2016. I graduated June 3rd on my birthday, and then from Attleboro High School, and then I went to basic training 10 days later, so I was out of here like immediately. It was a pretty easy decision. Both my parents are in the Air Force. My other brother's also in. Yeah, that's kind of how I decided. That's about it. But yeah, I left in June. I got stationed in England first, which was a pretty fun time. I got to travel a lot. And then I got stationed at Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. And that's where I got to deploy a lot and kind of be more into the military mission. Really long name. I was a Squadron Aviation Resource Manager. They call us SARM, but what we do is there's kind of a package that goes with each squadron. So you have the intelligence person that gives the intelligence to the pilots before they go out, or aircrew members. And then you have an equipment person, aircrew flight equipment, so they get all their gear ready. And then you have SARM, which is, they kind of just, we keep track of all the flight hours and requirements that they need and all their trainings. We're kind of the legal aspect of it, as well as just like a logbook kind of. So we make sure that they're good to go to fly too, medically and everything. So if they're not good, we have to just kind of catch them before and make them greened up. At Cannon Air Force Base, I think we're the number 1 or number 2 most deployed base in the Air Force, just for the mission. So they send people out the door a lot. I actually volunteered to go to Iraq. I like deploying, and I had nothing holding me to New Mexico, so I didn't mind it. I volunteered to go to Iraq, and then so we left in the end of April. We left in the end of April, yeah. And then we ended up coming home right before Halloween, so like middle of October. So it was a pretty, it felt really long to me, but kind of the story that goes with that deployment. The base that we were at was under just a lot of attacks, which is kind of common when you're deployed. Depending on if the weather is nice, then maybe you'll get attacked more. It's just really weird tactics sometimes. So we were getting attacked probably a couple of times to almost every night in a week. So you these really, really loud alarms go off, and it screams incoming, which obviously scares you a lot. So once it scares you, probably the first 20 times, you get over that initial fear and you're like, okay, another one. I would say about 40% of the time they don't hit the base, or it was a false alarm or something. The other parts, they're hitting a road or something. So by month 3, you kind of give up on hearing that sound. It's just engraved in your brain at this point, and you're like, oh, is it really going to come near me? And then at that point, you kind of have already considered there's nothing you can do, because we worked and slept in a hardened shelter. So it was completely concrete, the whole building, the roof, the ground. The roof was made of, I want to say 20 to 24 inches of solid concrete. Yeah, it was pretty, nothing was getting in, nothing was getting out. So at that point, you kind of you're safe, or as safe as you can be. So there's nothing to really worry about. And then July 7th happened, but we were working pretty long days sometimes, from 10 to 12 hours every night, but our Tactical Operations Center is in the building that we sleep in, which is where we work. So during that time, it was kind of like a long day, normal day, and we were just going to sleep, and my room just happened to be on one corner of the building, and the room next to me was the two guys that were the equipment guy and the intelligence guy. So I had my own room because I was actually the only female there, which isn't uncommon. It's a pretty common thing sometimes. So yeah, and we were going to bed. We're nocturnal, so we are asleep all during the day, and then we're awake all night, just because operations happen at night for pretty obvious reasons, because there's like a really big target in the sky that you can see during the day. So yeah, I think I had just fallen asleep, and it was about 12:30, so it was about lunchtime. We heard, and the alarm thing is like right next to my room, so super loud. So it wakes you up every time. And then you're supposed to get up, and then everyone looks out their door, and everyone makes accountability, make sure that everyone's in the building, that someone didn't like randomly go for a walk or something. So the alarm went off, and it said incoming, 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 which was okay. I'm laying in bed, so I mean, I'm not going anywhere. And at that point was when we could hear them. So you can always, like most of the time, you can always hear it. Like, you know, it sounds like a really big firework far away. Like it's not much different. But we heard it. I heard about 3 hit the ground. I was trying to count, because normally I like to count. I heard 3 or 4 hit the ground. I felt the 5th one, which was probably around 1,000 feet away, but it shook the building. And I was like, okay, that was getting close. And then I felt another one that was about 500 feet. And at this point, I'd realized that I was feeling the wave of them coming, which is how they're shot, basically. They're aiming most of the time for the runway to damage it so planes can't take off, or roads, or they're trying to hit aircraft. Most of the time, they're actually not trying to hit people, I believe. But yeah, at that point, when I was like shaken awake from the siren in the beginning, but by number 8, I kind of felt it coming. I mean, there's nothing you can do in that moment, you know. But yeah, it was definitely terrifying, and I felt like it was coming. So I actually laid in my bed, and I just held my head until it hit the building. And it hit so hard that my door swung open, which you need to put a keypad lock into it to open it, without breaking the wall. So the sound waves were so loud that it like had waved open my door. I don't know how that works, but it somehow did that. So once it did that, I opened my eyes, and I could actually, weirdly enough, I could see, because the light in the hole in the wall was giving me light into the building in my dark room. Other than that, I had no light in my room. We don't have windows or anything. So once it hit, I wear contacts and glasses, so I can't see very well without them. So it was almost like a movie moment of, it was blurry, and there was just absolute dust everywhere. And it was actually so loud that I didn't hear it, which is like really weird to explain, but I mean, I felt it like go through my body, but I don't remember hearing anything. I remember seeing the light, and the next like thought in my brain was to just run. I don't know why. I thought for some reason that maybe the concrete, I don't know why, but I thought something might catch on fire. I didn't know if more were going to be aimed at the same spot. There was an AC unit right there, so I didn't know if that was going to catch on fire and lock me in my room. So yeah, in my santee and my socks, I decided to absolutely just run. So I grabbed, I have glasses, but they had blown like across the room, but I saw my contact case. So I grabbed my contacts, and I actually like pried my door open and jumped out. I jumped onto a bunch of rocks, actually slipped a little bit, but and then I was basically at the end of a hallway. So then I ran all the way down the hallway, and actually, as I was running down, a few people were running back to come get me because they didn't actually know if I was there or not, or because originally, if we had done the procedures of the alarm went off, I should have been sticking my head out the window or out the door to be checking. I would have been standing right there, so that would have not been a good time. What ended up happening was, I can't remember the type of missile or the type of mortar it was, but it hit a pallet on the roof, which basically stopped it from going directly through into our building. So it blew up a communications pallet on top. It blew a hole in the entire side of the wall. And then, the AC unit fell off the wall. My AC unit fell off the wall. My entire bed had shifted. There were rocks everywhere. There was dirt everywhere. There was so much adrenaline going through me that I just had to run. So I ran out of there. I actually ran to my desk because I didn't know where else to go. It's kind of like my other comfort spot because that's where we were most of the time. And I sat down, I put my contacts in, and I was trying to figure out, I also had just woken up, so I'm trying to figure out what happened. And then my supervisor, who's my actual supervisor back home as well, he was looking for me everywhere, and he came and found me, and he was like, "Hey, are you okay? Blah, 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 everyone's looking for you." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in here, I don't know where I'm supposed to be." And then and then when it was all clear that they had been done shooting, the one that hit the building ended up being the last one of that round. So we actually had to get out of the building in the middle of the Iraqi heat, and while they surveyed the building to make sure it's not going to collapse and stuff. They did send everyone else to bed. It was all cleared. There was no problems. And then I was feeling fine. I had dirt in my lungs and stuff, I could feel it, but there's nothing you can do. It'll go away, is what I had figured. But there was actually just so much adrenaline going through me that I wasn't paying attention to what was probably going on. And I think I threw my phone off my bed at one point. I had to go back into my room, get my stuff, kind of come out. There was dirt on everything, which is really annoying to get out. But once I went back and I got my stuff, I started to realize that the sun outside was giving me a headache, which is probably normal. I was like, okay, I'm inhaling a bunch of dust, whatever. And I didn't think anything of it. And I realized that this is probably the one time in my life that I need to not stick it out, because a situation had happened that I've never been through, and that now I have a headache immediately after. There's probably something wrong with that. So I did go up to my commander and I said, I would never do this, but I just need to let you know that my head is starting to hurt. And the second I said that, he went and got another guy and was like, "You're in a hospital right now." And I was like, okay. I'm never going to say no to getting checked out. Just making sure that I'm okay. So actually, as soon as I said that I have a headache, the people in the room next to me had heard me. And they said, "Actually, we do too." And then a few others were actually like, "Hey, our head hurts." And started to realize that that wasn't I'm inhaling dust. It was a blast wave that went through all of us, is what actually ended up happening. So we all got checked out. We had some weird symptoms. I started throwing up for some reason. We were very sensitive to light. And it was really odd, they're trying to help you, but you're in Iraq, so they're Guard and Reserve Army members trying to help you. And they gave me the same concussion test, I think 40 times. I knew all the answers by that point, so it wasn't even working. So we had to go back every 2 days, but after the day that we got hit, when I got back from the hospital, which is around the time I should have been getting up for work, at this point I've been awake all day, I actually went in my room and I slept for about 3 days straight, which is really weird, but they said that just happens when like trauma goes through your body. So I did go to sleep for about 3 days until our flight doc came and got me and was like, hey, you need to like eat and drink, you know that, right? It's like, yeah, but the lights outside were bothering me, like in the building too. They're like, okay, we'll go get you something. And I actually came out of my room and I knew everyone was kind of like watching me, like, hey, like, are you okay? Are you okay? And like, it's like a really weird question to be asking someone, because what do you say to that? So I was like, yeah, you know, I'm fine. They had given me like Tylenol and other medication to help with the pain. And then I tried to stick it out a little bit. I was wearing sunglasses inside. My entire job's on a computer. I couldn't look at a computer anymore. It got like really weird to the point of they were finally like, and the two guys in the room next to me were also pretty shaken up and pretty much the same symptoms. At points, I think they're worse than me. So the Army medical people, as well as our flight doc, decided that we needed actual care at a trauma center. So we were all classified with traumatic brain injuries. When that happened, it had been about a week already. So they were like, okay, well, you guys were like still doing okay, so we're not going to emergency medical evacuation. So they just like I don't know how to call it. It's just it's a non-emergency medevac is what it is. So they basically they're medevacing you, but it's with people that like sprained their elbow and other people that like twisted their ankle. Like they're just a non-emergency. You're not like having a heart attack. So we're like, okay. And for some reason, it took us about 2 weeks to get to Landstuhl, Germany, where the trauma center was. And actually, by that point, I had just like been listening to everything the doctors were saying. They were like, don't look at light. So I literally stayed in like a dark room, like by myself. They were like, don't read. I was like, okay, just like stared at the wall. I had to have people bring me food. I listened to literally everything the doctor said. He was like, drink a ton of water, took the medication like on the dot. And by the time 4 weeks had passed, 3 or 4 weeks had passed, when I got to Germany, I had a headache about every other day, or it was getting less and less. So when we got there, my symptoms were going, or the problems I was having were going away, and I asked to go back, which sounds like really insane to most people, but when you spend that amount of time with people that like you care about, they kind of become your family. They're your second family. So I didn't want to go home, and they had planned to take someone from another squadron back home, send them out, send me back, a ton of stuff. And I stopped the guy from being sent out, and I told my chief, I was like, you can't send him, I'll go back. And they said, as long as you get cleared by the medical professionals, which are like very high officer, they're really good at their jobs, the medical facility in Landstuhl. So they were like, as long as you can get cleared, you can go back. And I said, okay. So I'll do any test they make me do. I don't care. I'll get it all done as fast as I can. I had to go through and get MRIs, my blood work. They had to do head to toe physicals. I ended up getting an audiogram later, test my eyes. I took the concussion test again. We took a bunch of tests, and within 2 days they cleared me, which I was also shocked about, but they cleared me, and I actually got to go back out, deployed with my squadron, as well as the intel analyst. And the equipment guy tried to also come back, but he was too injured to return. So long-term effect, I actually don't have any symptoms physically. Some noises bother me sometimes. Of course, being in Iraq and then like 3 days later after we had got hit, the alarms don't stop. So that was a little terrifying sometimes, but you kind of just get used to things. I don't believe I really have any symptoms though anymore. I'm sure I might down the road, but for right now, I feel very lucky. We just, in all three of our mines, the Purple Heart is kind of awarded to the people that you see that are missing a leg, that have like really bad injuries. And we didn't think a TBI was that bad. But they actually classify it as one of the worst injuries, that people would rather lose a leg than get a traumatic brain injury, because there's just so much that can go wrong easily in the future, easily in the at that moment in time, because you can't fix a brain, you only get one. So it was we actually said like we don't want, like, not that we don't want one, we just felt almost undeserving, which sounds a little crazy, but they have I guess lightened the criteria due to like today's nature in war, how that they do classify as traumatic brain injuries as being wounded in combat, which is, I guess, technically what happened is we were all wounded in combat by the enemy. So being awarded the Purple Heart, I actually flew back to Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico, and we had the ceremony. It was really, I don't know how to describe it. It was a speechless moment, to be honest. It was probably one of the best ceremonies I've ever been to, not just because I was in it either. I've been to a lot of military ceremonies in the 6 years that I've been in, but we just have a really, really good, he's the really, really good wing commander, as well as my supervisor that was there in Iraq was the one announcing it. So it was just a really cool moment overall. Air Force enlisted career, I will be done on June 13th. That'll be my 6-year mark. Moving forward, I got accepted to the University of Massachusetts in Lowell, so I'll be attending UMass Lowell in the fall of this year to go to their ROTC program, so their detachment. So I want to go to ROTC and commission into the Guard Reserve as a pilot, and then hopefully finish all my civilian stuff flying as well. So I'm trying to be basically a double pilot. That's the end goal. When I joined, I went temporary duty, or TDY, from England to Vegas. Actually, sounds weird, but we were there doing exercises in Las Vegas, and my parents came out to come see us and just visit, because I had been away for maybe a half a year or a year, right out the house, and I was the last kid to leave, so they missed all of us. So they flew out to Vegas to come see me, and they actually surprised me with a helicopter tour in the Grand Canyon, which sounds really crazy, but we had to get up super early. It was at sunrise, and I was talking, or my dad and me were talking to the pilot, and she was 22, and she was flying a helicopter at 6 a.m. in Vegas, getting paid pretty well to do it, and I was like, hey, how on earth do you get to do this every day? It was, and the view from a helicopter is amazing. Just all around. And after that one helicopter ride, I never got it out of my head. Later on, I did get a ride in a fighter jet, in an F-15. That was pretty insane. They go very fast. I did throw up, so. Afterwards, when I got to Cannon, I did get to ride in a CB-22. I did get to ride in the AC-130 gunship. I was getting tours of other planes, and I was like, I hate my desk job. I don't hate the job, I hate sitting at a desk part of it. And once I realized that I wanted to actually fly, I found a flight school in New Mexico, and I started flying on my own. And not only were the views cool now, but I was controlling them, which is, I can't even begin to explain, but it was just one of the coolest things that, like, this is your job, like, every day, that you get to just sit up here. And I think it's really, honestly, a hidden wonder. It's just, I don't know, it makes me really it's really hard to be mad when you're just sitting that high up in the sky, and you realize how little the world is and how little your problems are. So my plan while I'm at school is to finish getting my private pilot's license, and then work towards slowly getting my instructor ratings and my instrument and commercial and everything, so that one day also, like, I want to be an instructor in fixed wing, and then I want to cross over to helicopters. I like the freedom that helicopters have of they can kind of do whatever they want, which is, I think, just really cool. Yeah, dream job would just really be, I would love to do search and rescue, maybe in, like, the White Mountains or something, but being a firefighter would be cool, being a police, like, there's just no bad helicopter jobs. We just went to Formula One in October as well. There was a helicopter flying there just taking videos with a camera. Like, that's awesome. There's just no bad helicopter jobs, I'm convinced, so I'm excited.